I don't have the second page of the salary ordinances because my printer was acting up. So I have them here if you need to see them, the signed copies.
All right, well, it's 6 o'clock on my computer here, so we're going to call this meeting to order. First thing we'll do is stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All right, so the purpose of this meeting is the State Board of Accounts performed their audit and they found an overpayment of $1,200 to the clerk treasurer. And this was based on the ordinance from 2018, and it's marked 2018-22, which is the salary ordinance, compared to what was actually paid out in 2019. And so there was a difference of $50 per paycheck.
Per paycheck, yes.
So for a total of $1,200. So the State Board of Accounts has given us basically two options to resolve this. The first one, they said the town board can retroactively change the salary ordinance, saying it was their intention to give the pay raise. Or number two would be to ask for a repayment or a returning of the overpayment back to the town. I was not on the town council when this was passed. Steve, John, and Leanne were on the town council at the time. So as far as speaking to the intention to give a pay increase, I don't feel like I would be able to address that, but I will give each of you a chance to state what you remember about that from the 2 years ago, if you'd like to do that now. So Leanne, ladies first, if you want to talk about what you remember from the passing of the salary ordinance 2018 and your intentions as a town council.
Well, in my recollection, we did not intend to give a raise at that time. I have talked to Ryan Rash, who was president at the time, just to make sure that I was thinking right, and he said he did not think that we had intended to give a raise at that time. So
Okay.
I don't think that was an intention to do that.
Okay, Steve, you got,
I don't recall having a discussion on it at all. Did I sign that?
you signed the ordinance, the 2018-22 for the salary ordinance, which was budgeted for $22,744.80 for the year, or by monthly payments of $947. Yeah, your signature's on that. It was Ryan Rash, John Coley, Leanne Davis, Shelley Ernst, and Steve Schwartz as the signers approving that ordinance. So you don't recall
I
a
don't
discussion?
even recall that
Okay.
at this point in
All
time.
right. So next I wanted to give,
I could have sworn we had one
Jenny,
much later, like last year. Did we not have a discussion on all of them?
this year,
Yes.
Yeah.
the
We
budget
had
we passed in November, earlier this month.
There was a 3%
No, I was
increase for
thinking
everyone.
there was a discussion on this same thing last year
Oh, okay.
at this time.
I don't think so.
Because Dan and them were not in the meeting when we discussed it.
I'm not sure I
For
understand.
next year, you mean?
A
I was
raise,
thinking we had a meeting on last year's budget that would have been for this year.
Right. Oh, for this year?
no.
Yeah, we did.
We did,
We did.
we had a meeting to discuss, the 2020, or 2021 budget, an increase, but not the 2020, correct?
Right,
Well, right now, the State Board of Accounts, all they care about is the year they audited, which is the 2019
right.
budget year. So they just noticed this discrepancy, this error. So I wanted to give
That
the
would
clerk
be-
treasurer an opportunity to talk about what may have occurred from her perspective on this.
Okay, if you'll look at the ones that I passed out to you, the salary ordinance 2014 for 2015. The amount for the clerk treasurer is 22,744.80. You see that?
Yes.
Then if you see the 16, it's 23,945. When the girl that was cleaning the office quit at one of the meetings that we had for the budget, they told me I could clean and they were just gonna give me the extra $100 a month. That's why it went from 22,744 to 23,945. Then 2017 says 23,945. Then 18 and 19 and 20 go back to 22,744.80. So what I've done is gone back to my 2015 salary ordinance, pulled it, didn't even look at the thing. Nobody else caught it either. That the amount was 23,945, and on your budget things that I've given you, it shows that in 15 it was 22,745, and then in 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20 it goes up to 23,945. So I have just made an error in the salary ordinance, pulling it from 2015 and not going from 16 and 17. And there were no increases. The salary ordinance just has 15's numbers instead of 16 and 17's numbers. The increase was in 2016. And it was carried across all the way, and then I made an error on the salary ordinance.
So I'm following what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
The salary ordinance for 2016 is correct.
The salary ordinance for 2015 is correct, 2016 is correct, 2017 is correct, and then in 18, 19, and 20, it goes back to the 2015 amounts.
But for the 18, 19, and 20, those are just clerical errors where you use the amount from the
Yes.
other, and it should have been 23,
945.
all those should have been 23,945.
Because in the budget, we put in there, whatever's in the budget is what should have been in the salary ordinance, because we passed the budget first and then the salary ordinance is done in December
And the budget stayed the same for
for 5 years,
17, 18, and 19.
yes. Well, actually, 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20,
We're all the same.
yeah.
Okay.
Okay, my problem with this is you should have, your amount should be your clerk treasurer. You're adding another $100 that you're being paid to clean. That
Just for
should have-
that 1 year, just for that 1 year.
For 2016. Or was it 2017?
It was 2016.
Okay, but then in 2017 you have the same amount. Why is
Right,
that?
because there is a law somewhere that once you, Graham, maybe you know this one.
Once
You-
you start a
Once you,
salary,
when you give a increase, you can't go from 26,000 back down to 24,000. You can't take away from what you've increased it to.
Yeah, I know that applies to employees, I don't know off the top of my
Well,
head.
they told me that one time in an audit.
And that very well might
Yeah.
be the case, yeah. But I would wanna confirm the statute. So you're saying that the salary ordinance should have included the 23,945 for
Right,
all years?
for 18, 19, and 20.
Okay. Okay.
And she was working from these ordinances on what should have been paid, the auditor.
Yeah, she was working from the 2018-22, which it says 22,744, and then the budget says 23,945.
So you're saying it's not isolated to 2019 then?
No, it's in 2018, 19, and 20.
Okay.
But the guy that audited me last year did 15, 16, 17, and 18,
And didn't
and he
identify
didn't
it?
catch it either. You know, if he'd caught it then, we could have taken care of it then, and he didn't catch it either.
Yeah.
And you're still doing the cleaning,
No, I'm not doing the cleaning anymore.
but you're being paid for,
I'm getting paid for whatever the raise was right there.
When did the cleaning stop?
The girl that cleaned stopped in, 2016.
so, okay. So only 2016 is when you cleaned,
Yes.
okay. But because you increased that amount, it could not go back down.
So I've been told at one of the other audits.
Okay.
I was gonna try to find that today and I didn't get a chance to.
Yeah, we need to confirm that.
I can see what you've done, you've taken a template that you always use for these ordinances,
Mm-hmm.
and then you just
And
go
just
in and
carried
change
it
the
over and
dates
didn't
and
even look,
the
yeah,
year
just
and
changed
stuff,
the dates.
and, it's a, no pun intended, clerical error.
Alright, so our job, remains the same for what the State Board of Accounts is wanting to have happen here. Again, they've given us two options of, we retroactively amend the 2018-22 ordinance to say that the, pay should have been the, 23,945 per year at a payment, bi-monthly payment of $997.70. Or we ask for that year's money back. Those are our two choices.
But you're only talking about 1 year, and this has happened for, what, how many years? 17, 18, 19, and 20, it's happened for 4 years, and you're only talking for 1 year.
That's the only one.
That's the one the State Board of
has
Accounts
that
is
problem.
concerned about right now.
But if
They're-
the law is you can't go back, then it doesn't matter anyway.
Yeah, I think we need to confirm that, one
Yeah.
way or the other. I guess you could make a decision pending the outcome of that question.
But just to avoid further discussions about it, do we need to go back and post, or whatever, amend all of them that are incorrect? at one time, and that way we don't have to address this for other years.
Yeah, I think that would be appropriate. If that's the way you wanna go.
Was anybody besides John, here on the council in 2016?
I don't think so.
Okay. I don't see a signature page, so I didn't know who. Sign these.
Debbie, John, Brad Butler, David Powell, and Ron Robertson.
Okay. All right, so what's our call here, town council? What are we, inclined to do right now for this?
I make a motion that we amend the year in question and then discuss the other years after we find out from what you said.
Determine whether the statute requires that you do that.
Right.
All right, so I have a,
The amounts listed the same in all of the budget that's for the different years, budget estimates. It doesn't go back to 22,744. So if you look at all those line items through every one of the years, the budget was still set for 23,945. So it's merely an error on here rather than a discrepancy also with what was budgeted.
a copy and paste error. All right, so I have a, first motion,
I'll second.
second motion. Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, so we will work on an amendment
Side to it all.
on, did you have a chance to find out how that works, or is it looked like just every other ordinance with just the wording of this is an amendment for a previous ordinance, or?
It would just be an amended salary ordinance, essentially.
Okay,
I mean, and if you decide that you wanted to retroactively amend it for all those years, that could be incorporated in this ordinance as well, or we could address that at a later date after we determine what the statute says on, you know, whether the pay can be increased or decreased after it's been increased. Which, as I understood your motion, it was just this year, and then we're
Right.
saving for another day the other ones.
That straightens us out with the Board of Accounts for now, and then we can work on the other.
Okay.
but we're gonna have to work on, more of this at our next meeting, regardless, because we approved increases in salaries in our budget, but we haven't yet done a, salary ordinance for the 2021 year.
Right.
We need to do that in December, otherwise paychecks in January are gonna be also inaccurate. So we wanna make sure that between now and the meeting in December, which will be the 10th, we need to write or work on a salary ordinance. Would be the 2020 dash, whatever we're up to now is 19 or 20 also, I think. So, Jenny, are you gonna work on that, or do you want somebody else to work on that, or?
It doesn't matter to me.
Okay.
I mean, if you would rather somebody else
No
do it,
comment.
that's fine. I don't think this
Just
mistake,
don't copy
I
and
don't think
paste.
this mistake will be made again.
I hope not. Whew. Alright, so by the December 10th meeting, we'll have a salary ordinance for 2021.
Yes,
We'll also have an amended salary ordinance for our 2000, at least the 2018-22 ordinance. And then, unless we wanna have that discussion now of fixing the other ones as well, the 2000,
because this 2020 says the same thing.
yep. And then,
Well, I don't know how we do this or whatever, but I wanna revisit then our, 2021 ordinance of salary. I mean, if we can't go backwards,
Yeah.
in essence, Jenny's already gotten a raise. I don't know that that we
In
need to do
2000,
another
in
raise.
2016, which was 5 years ago, I haven't had one since then.
I thought that's what we were just talking about, was that this, you've been paid for
Yeah, since
4 years.
2016, that amount, but I haven't had one since then.
so what I'm hearing is the budget that we passed earlier this month,
Uh-huh,
you want to reopen that budget as not approved and look at that
Well, I think,
increase that was given.
I think there's two different things, because you can budget a certain amount,
Right.
but as long, the operative document is the salary ordinance, so as long, depending upon what you budgeted, you could still change it in the salary ordinance, and whatever you approve in the salary ordinance is what they're gonna be paid. So
Yeah,
if you
so
wanted
if you
to-
wanna leave it 23.9 whatever, even though the budget says 25 something, you can still leave it
So you
23.945.
can still change it, Leanne.
We'll come in
Okay.
under budget, and that's fine.
Yeah,
You just can't come in over budget.
yeah.
So is that what I'm hearing, Leanne, you're wanting
yeah,
to?
all I'm saying
address
is,
that?
since 2016, if I'm understanding this, nobody got a raise. Pete didn't get a raise, nobody got a raise. But then you added the cleaning in your check, which in essence gave you a raise. And then because of the law, when you stopped cleaning, you couldn't lower yours down again. So you've gotten a raise, but everybody else did not. Now, you're asking for another raise with
I've
Pete
never,
and they
wait,
didn't.
take that
Hold
back,
on,
I
let
have
her
never
finish.
asked for a raise.
Well,
No interrupt, let her finish. And
yes.
you can,
So it's, to me, it's not fair that these people didn't get a raise, you have for 2 or 3 years, and now you're gonna get another one, and they're just getting their first one.
okay, now your turn.
No, I'm just saying, I have never asked for a raise,
Right.
never.
Alright, so in the budget meeting that we had, the proposal to give them a raise was brought up by John. He was
Right.
the one who first, initiated that conversation, and, there was discussion about 2.5% versus 3.5%, and we eventually settled on everybody getting a cost of living increase
Correct.
of the 3%, right? That's what we nailed down, or was it 3.5?
I think I had 3.5 written down somewhere. In fact,
So my thoughts
I
on
just
our
jotted
discussion with the
down.
budget, right,
3.5,
okay.
but
Our discussion with the budget was focused on a cost of living increase across the board to help with, you know, just the changes that have occurred in our economy and helping our town employees, all of them, get that cost of living increase. So I'm inclined to think that that everybody deserved an increase, and this mistake notwithstanding, that she's still doing the job that we're asking her to do. So I like the idea that we awarded all of our employees with a little bump up in salary. This is my opinion. Any thoughts?
I agree.
Any
I agree with that.
thoughts from you? It's still within your purview as a town council woman to say, let's revisit that in a formal discussion, if that's how you wanna address it, so.
I do, I wanna redress it. I have some uneasy feelings about this. And if nothing else, I just wanna cover our rear ends of what we're doing. So,
All right. Any other discussions from town council members? Anything, Graham? Any thoughts?
I don't think so. I think I understand what you want from me. I'll
Okay.
get you an answer to that question, because I think it's important information for you to have. I know the statute she's talking about, I just haven't reviewed it recently enough to be confident to give you a firm opinion on it.
Okay. So at least right now, we have an answer we can give to the State Board of Accounts for the audit discrepancy and what we're gonna do to resolve that. In all of this, I also kind of dug more into the internal controls training that they have on the State Board of Accounts website, and hopefully everybody on the town council has watched the video training that they have, and then there's a paper that Jenny gave us to sign and give back to her that we watched it. Have you gotten papers from all of us yet?
No.
Okay. So I think I have mine in my backpack that I'll give you
Okay.
today. But if you haven't done that, please try to get that done before the December 10th meeting, so that we can tell the State Board of Accounts we've at least got part of that in place. Along with the internal controls, I think, you know, that in reading that, it gives us as the town council the responsibility to make sure that we are transparent to our taxpayers, that we are being you know, responsible and ethical with the monies that we collect from our citizens. And it also, you know, affords us the issues of what do we do for oversight. And so some of this, I kind of feel like I have had a responsibility in noticing this. I've been on the town council for a year and a half, and I was just completely shocked that this was happening, and I should have picked it up, because each month Jenny hands me this claim docket and I approve it, and it wasn't right because it wasn't reflecting what was on the books. So that's part, I bear some responsibility in that, and I want to make sure that I do better. So in the internal controls kind of mindset, we have to focus on that some. The statute says that we're supposed to have a written policy on how we're addressing internal controls, and I don't know if we have that yet. So I'd like to work with Jenny and Graham over the next couple weeks to try and put something together for the meeting on the 10th that we can at least look at and think about and consider to institute by January of here's what the town of Clayton is going to do for internal controls to make sure that this kind of error does not occur again in the future. That we, as we go forward, there's some sort of mechanism that we use to double check, whether it's we get the claim docket 2 days ahead of the meeting instead of on the day of the meeting, or whether or not. One thing that came to mind, I remember sitting in the audience when Ryan Rash was still president, and they talked about the town signing a contract with an accounting firm or a bookkeeping firm that would be like a backup if you needed it, kind of a thing. Do we still have?
We go with Baker Tilly.
Okay. So for a bookkeeping check or a backup and making sure that errors like this don't happen, we can use an outside agency like that to give us just another pair of eyes to look on these kinds of things and make sure that it's not
And
a
I'm
copy
pre-
and paste error.
I'm pretty sure in the audit, the exit conference, that's one of the things that's gonna be brought up, because you guys sign the internal control, but then nobody really comes in and looks at anything. You look at the papers that I give you, but nobody ever comes in and, looks at the books or anything like that. And that's one thing, the internal control, they want you to do. They want you to, like, have Steve be the one over salary, and he comes in and looks at the books every month and signs off on them, and, just like that. And that is good for me too, because then nobody can say that I'm doing something wrong. You know what I mean? Because that's how I
Sure.
feel right now, that I've done this on purpose. That's how I feel right now.
Okay. The
And it's farther from the truth.
well, and I mean, errors happen, and that's fortunately, the State Board of Accounts has given us an opportunity to fix it
Yes,
rather
and
than
it's very nice of
just
them to
come
do
in and
that.
said, "That's it, you're done." So they didn't drop the axe on us, and that's nice. The so we'll work on putting together a formal written policy on what our internal controls are going to look like, and each town council member will have a role in that. Our contract with our municipal advisor will be, they'll have a role in that as well. Try and help us just maintain a little bit better internal control on what we're dealing with. Any other discussion from town council members or Jenny?
Did you say that we do have a policy in place?
We don't have a policy in
Okay.
place. They sign the thing every year, and they're supposed to look at the video and write that they did, but we don't have any kind of policy in place. And I can probably check with towns around here to see what they have.
Yeah, maybe a comparison with other like-sized towns around Hendricks County or something would be helpful with that. Alright, any other discussion on internal controls? Leanne?
Nope.
Dave? Steve?
Mm-mm.
Okay. And Graham, anything else for us on
I'm good for now.
that side of it? Okay,
I will say one thing, I mean, I count on every one of you to do your best at what we came here to do. I count on Graham, I count on Dan, and I count on Jenny to do So I mean, there's a level of responsibility and professionalism you just expect everyone to have and so there's then with that level of responsibility and professionalism, you know, it's kind of hard to go in and then scrutinize on every little issue that's gone through here. Because if you're doing that, then you're doing the other person's work constantly, and it shouldn't have to be that way. So I'm seeing this as a clerical error, and that's exactly how it comes out to play if you look back at the trajectory of all the different years and what's down here. So that's how I feel about it. So
Okay. Anything else? All right. Everybody comfortable with adjourning? Lynn, Steve? All right, meeting adjourned, 6:36.